Okay, I'm going to answer a question from Tom in this video. Tom says that he feels like he needs two different metronomes, one for practicing and one for gigging. So he says for practicing, he wants complexity and programmability so that he can make something that's perfect thing for a specific practice routine. And he thinks PolyNome is great for this. And he keeps all of his practice presets in the presets list. And he wants some playlists for programming more complicated things with multiple tempos. So that's fine. And then he says for gigs, he wants something very different. He wants something that supports him as a drummer with a list of song names and their tempos and a visual display of the tempo so that he can have it on while it's playing, with the main thing being to help him start each tune at the right tempo and helping to keep the tempo steady visually. He says, I don't want programmability, complexity on the gig. I want to rely on the info being there when I need it. The thing that happened to me at a festival in front of 5,000 people in a 60-piece band just can't happen again, i.e. the tempos go off because I accidentally adjusted them and didn't know how to get them back. So here is referring to a previous email where he had some issues and I fixed these in the latest version of PolyNome. And then he says, finally, if I have to program a bunch of presets to populate a playlist for gigs, for 2 or 3 different bands, when I go back to practicing, I have millions of gig presets in my preset list, which I don't want there when I practice. Maybe you need a gig mode and a practice mode. So I'm going to answer Tom's questions in this video for anybody else who might be interested in the things that he's talking about. I'm going to show you how I would answer his questions. So let's say, for example, that we want a count off for the song Mustang Sally. So I would create a new preset and call it Mustang Sally. And you could program the drum groove into here, or you could just have a count off. So I'll set this to be a 2-bar count off. And let's just say that it's at 120 BPM. And I'll go ahead and save this. And while we're at it, let's create another preset and have this one be for the song Happy. And let's say that that was at 105 BPM. And again, let's make that 2 bars. And I'll save this. So now in the presets library, we have a count off for Mustang Sally and a count off for Happy. So let's go ahead and create a playlist with these 2 items. So I can click on the multi-select and choose those 2 items. And then click on Actions and add presets to playlist. And we'll call it Tonight's Gig. And we'll add them to this new playlist. So now we have 2 reps of the Happy count off and 2 reps of the Mustang Sally count off. So if I click on this and press play, we get 2 repeats of it, which gives the tempo, and then it stops. Now for a playlist, what I like to do is go into Auto Advance Controls and turn on Auto Advance. And for now, I will leave off play when advancing. And what happens here is that if we play this preset, it will give you the count off. And then when it finishes, it moves to the next one, but it stops. And that means that all you have to do is reach down and hit play, and you get the count off for the next song. Now, one of the things Tom was asking for was a count off, but then a visual display of the song continuing. And I guess he means without a click. So this is how I would achieve that. Let's say we want a click for Happy. I'm going to click the plus icon in the top right and choose Duplicate Item with New Name. And I'm going to call it Happy Visual and click Save. And you'll notice if we go back to the presets list that that hasn't been added to the presets list. That's only visible in this playlist. I'm going to move this right above Happy. Now at the moment this won't play when we reach it. So I'm going to go into Playlist Controls and turn on Play when advancing. Now that essentially means that this is going to play all the way through the list. But what I want to happen is I want some of these to stop when they're reached. So to do that, you click on the pencil icon and we can go and select all and choose Actions, Stop when reached. And I'm going to go back and just click Save here. And the reason is there's a bug in version 2.2.6 where whichever item is selected it won't update this state. So that's something you won't have to do in 2.2.7. And what we're going to do is I'll click on happy and then click the edit button again, choose this happy visual one, and I'm going to choose to play when reached. That means that we'll get the 2 reps of this, and then when this item is reached, it's going to play. And then Mustang Sally is stop when reached, so this doesn't get played. So what I'm going to do now is click on happy visual and go back and look at the preset, and I'm just going to mute the line. So this is basically a preset that doesn't play a sound, it just gives us the visual indication. And then let's save the changes. And then I'll click the gear icon and choose repeats, and then click on here and choose to loop. So now what we have is we have our 2-bar counting, and then it will advance to just the visual version, and we get to see the flashing play button and the pendulum moving. And if in the mixer you had big numbers turned up, you'll also see the visuals there. And then when he's finished playing that song, you can just hit the play button, choose Mustang Sally, and we've got the count off for that. So of course you can repeat this to create whatever playlist you want with visual indications that have no clicks. And since we've already set the tempo, we can get rid of the tempo display on here. So if you click and hold one of these buttons, you get the button picker, and I can take the tempo off. So maybe all we want to see is the previous and next buttons, and you might not even want those. You might just want a play button, so we could get rid of those as well. And if we want a larger play button, we can turn on big buttons, and that will take up more of the space, so it's easier to hit. Maybe you want the previous next back in there. And this button state is saved with the playlist. So when you create another playlist, you can choose how you want the button layout to be on that playlist. So that's how I would go about creating my gig playlist that has things set out in just the way that I want them. And then back on the presets page, let's say that these songs, Happy and Mustang Sally, you only play in that particular function band, and you don't need to save those presets in your preset library. You can go ahead and select those and delete them, and they won't be deleted from the playlist because the versions in the playlist are copies. So that's one way of keeping your presets library nice and clean. If you want, you can also just add clicks directly to a playlist, again by clicking on the plus button, choosing duplicate item with new name, and let's say we want a click for Soul Man. So that creates the click directly in the playlist, and it doesn't put it in the presets library. So that's one way of adding songs. And then of course you can click on this and go ahead and change this rhythm or counting to be whatever you want. So maybe we'll have 8th note counting for that, and the tempo will be 160. I know that's not correct, but I'll save changes. So now we have the Soul Man click at 160 BPM. And like I say, that doesn't appear in the presets library. So I hope that's answered Tom's question. If you have any questions about things in PolyNome that you want the answers to, then just send me an email to support@polynome.net. Thanks for using PolyNome. I'll see you in another video.